Does your dog go crazy or get a little nervous when he hears specific sounds? If so, you're going to want to stay tuned for today's behavior chat. Thanks for joining me today. I'm Tanya Wilhelm and we're going to talk about noises. But first, if you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button, click that bell icon, and you'll be notified every time I upload a new video. So when you're working with your dog because they're nervous of something, or they get a little excited about something, or maybe they're a little overstimulated by certain sounds, then you're going to want to work on desensitizing them and counter conditioning them to all those triggers. And one of their triggers can be different kinds of sounds. So desensitizing and counter conditioning are two big words that basically mean we're going to slowly acclimate a dog to one of his triggers, something that elicits a behavior we want to change, and pair that up with something good. The key to success is that when you're doing this, the trigger is below threshold, which means it actually doesn't cause the dog to react. This is the key element so that we can change that behavior. Since we're talking about the noise element today, if you think about thunder and you think about that noise, your dog may respond at a teeny little quiet sound, or he may only respond when it's a certain level, when it gets a certain closeness. So what we want to do is we want to take that noise where he doesn't respond and pair it up with something extremely valuable. And this is where our friend Mr. Pavlov comes in. So a noise that doesn't get your dog to react, pair it up with something amazing. So doesn't react, amazing. Doesn't react, amazing. And then we're going to take that noise and we're going to start to gradually make it louder. So a little louder, something amazing. A little louder, something amazing. Until eventually, over time, over your different training sessions, you're slowly increasing that volume that you end up to the point where your dog used to react. But he's no longer reacting because you've been pairing it up all along. So now instead of being nervous of that noise or barking at that noise or getting excited about that noise, he's looking for the reward. And when you get to that point, that's when you can actually start to extinguish the rewards and make them more random. So let's take the doorbell. So a lot of dogs, when they hear the doorbell, go ballistic because they've been conditioned that the doorbell means what? What does the doorbell mean to your dog? Guests. There's a guest at the door. Your dog may go crazy when he hears the doorbell, usually because of one of two things. He's so excited that there's a guest over there, or he does not want the guest to come into the house because he's nervous or a little territorial. Either way, we want to change that behavior that the doorbell does not elicit that reaction. Because if your dog is already wound up when a guest is coming, whenever you open that door to the guest, your dog's already here. So if you're trying to work on polite greeting or whatever, or not being afraid of strangers or whatever your other behavioral issue is, you're going to have a hard time at it because he's already here. He's already excited. So instead, we want to take that one trigger and get rid of it. We want to teach our dogs that that doorbell is not something to be excited about. So let's continue on with the doorbell path, since that seems to be a popular one. If your dog really is stimulated by that doorbell, and I mean it's like crazy and you just are going to lose your mind, one of the things that you can do, and I actually do recommend this a lot with clients, is to turn off your doorbell or tape it up so that people can't ring in that doorbell. Because when you're working on a training program, when you're slowly getting them comfortable and having a different response to that doorbell, if they get triggered outside of a training lesson, you're not going to have much success because you're over here working really hard at trying to change that behavior. Meanwhile, life happens and it goes ding dong and he goes crazy. So you're going to be juggling and struggling because you're just not having the consistency. And it's really about that consistency. So the management is really important if you truly want to get down there and change that behavior. Sometimes doorbells actually have different chimes and we can actually turn that chime and change that bell and start all over again. So what do you do with that doorbell? So how do you start teaching your dog that that doorbell doesn't mean anything? YouTube. You can either YouTube or you can actually record your doorbell going off, which isn't a bad idea. So let's say you have your doorbell recorded into your smartphone. Now you have control. You can play that at a low intensity. Plus, it's actually not coming out of the box that it normally came out of. So it's going to actually probably throw your dog for a little bit of a loop to begin with. Make sure your dog's close enough that you'll be able to see him and you're going to be able to toss him a yummy, yummy treat. So now in your training session, you have your yummy, yummy treats, ideally in your pocket versus sitting up here on the table, and your smartphone with the recorded audio of the doorbell. All right? You're going to be ready to hit play and stop. So you're going to hit play and let it go on for a second and stop and toss them a treat. So it's play, toss, treat. Play, treat, toss. And try to make sure that you're hitting that play before you toss the treat. Because remember, doorbell equals treat, not treat and then doorbell. Because doorbell's conditioned that there's guests. We want doorbell to be conditioned that there's treats right now. Doorbell goes off, toss the treats and stop. So as you're tossing your treats, you can stop. You can put your phone obviously down here so you can just push, 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 push. And even if your dog barks at first, that's okay. It doesn't even matter if he barks. Don't tell him no or anything like that. All we're doing is conditioning. And what will happen is that bark will go away because we're going to start conditioning him again that that bell means reward. Now, it doesn't just have to be doorbells. What other noises elicit a behavior you're trying to change? Dogs barking? Thunderstorms? Cars backfiring? Motorcycles starting up? The UPS truck? You can desensitize your dog to all these noises. It doesn't mean that they're going to be perfect when the real life happens, but it's going to be easier to get to the next step in your training if you're starting to already desensitize your dog to those noise triggers. When you're working with changing your dog's behavior, it's really about looking into what triggers your dog, what noise, what sight, what smell, and to gradually desensitize them to each one of those things individually, and then you can pair them together. And then you can put them in their behavior chain. Doorbell, just a minute, put him in his bedroom, answer the door. What's your routine? And slowly teach them what you want at each one of those steps before real people are at the door. Hopefully a few of these tips will be helpful for your dog. This was a topic request from one of my viewers. You too can join in the conversation by checking the community page and posting your question. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. You can click the bell icon and you'll be notified every time I upload a new video. If you want to dive deeper into your dog's behavior, training, and care, you can check out my private Patreon page. The link is below. And until next time, remember to pause and enjoy life, and I'll see you in the next video.
Let me tell you a story about the baddest dog there ever was. Sneaking food from the fridge, tearing up the garbage. He's a goofy old Dexter the dog. He's a bad Dexter the dog, the baddest pup that